Everyone thinks New Year's Eve is a magical fresh start. It is actually just a survival test for your dignity and your insurance premiums. We found 49 people who failed the test miserably. You are about to see fireworks destroying entire garages. You will witness a man losing a fight against his own leather pants. Put down the champagne and lower your expectations. This is the ultimate compilation of midnight disasters. 1. A nervous young boyfriend decided Times Square was the perfect spot for romance. He waited hours in the freezing cold with a ring in his pocket. The countdown began and the energy was electric. He dropped to one knee right as the ball started to drop. His girlfriend gasped and screamed yes with tears in her eyes. It was a beautiful moment until the clock hit midnight. The massive crowd surged forward to celebrate without looking down. They did not see the couple on the ground. The poor lovers were instantly trampled by cheering tourists. They spent their first engaged moments protecting their heads while people kissed above them. It was a truly painful start to forever. 2. A suburban dad wanted to impress the neighbors with a massive illegal fireworks display. He set everything up in the backyard next to the detached garage. His family watched from the safety of the patio with drinks in hand. He lit the fuse and ran back as the first rocket launched. It looked spectacular until a stray spark landed in the wrong spot. The dry leaves near the garage wall ignited instantly. Flames shot up the side of the building within seconds. The party guests cheered loudly because they thought it was part of the finale. The dad panicked and grabbed a garden hose, while his friends clapped for the destruction. 3. A group of college friends noticed their buddy passed out on the sofa early. They decided to play a classic prank instead of waking him up. One friend carefully balanced an empty beer can on the sleeper's forehead. Then another friend added a second can, and then a third one. The tower reached 12 cans high just as the countdown began on TV. Everyone held their breath to keep the tower steady. The clock struck 12 and the noise outside startled the sleeping victim. He sat up abruptly in a panic. The aluminum avalanche crashed down on his face loudly. He thought the house was collapsing while everyone else laughed hysterically. 4. A confident young man spotted his crush across the crowded room. He checked his watch and saw only 10 seconds remained. He chugged his drink and sprinted toward her with open arms. She did not see him coming at all. He lunged forward for a movie-style kiss at midnight. His foot caught on a rug and he flew through the air. He missed the girl completely and sailed over the sofa. His face landed directly into a large metal bucket full of ice. The water splashed onto the expensive carpet. The girl turned around confused while he shivered in the freezing water. It was a cold rejection. 5. An enthusiastic party host spent all day preparing fancy snacks. She made spinach dip and shrimp cocktails for her guests. She also drank way too much champagne while cooking. The countdown started and she rallied everyone for a toast. She screamed Happy New Year with pure joy. Her stomach suddenly decided to reject the entire evening. She projectile vomited all over the appetizer table immediately. The shrimp cocktail was ruined instantly by the mess. Guests froze with their glasses raised in the air. The smell cleared the room faster than a fire alarm. She wiped her mouth and asked if anyone wanted cake. 6. A middle-aged uncle wanted to look cool for the holiday party. He bought a pair of extremely tight leather pants for the occasion. He hit the dance floor hard when the music started. He sweat profusely while doing the electric slide. The midnight toast happened and he decided to sit down. He realized with horror that he was physically stuck in the pants. The leather had sealed to his legs like superglue. He tried to peel them off in the bathroom for an hour. He eventually had to sleep in them until sunrise. His wife laughed at his squeaking legs the next morning. 7. A frat brother wanted to start the year with a bang. He gathered his friends around the kitchen island for a stunt. He planned to shotgun a cheap beer exactly at midnight. He punctured the can with a sharp key aggressively. The pressure inside the can was way too high. The beer exploded into his face like a foam bomb. Foam covered his eyes and dripped down his nose. The sticky liquid sprayed onto the ceiling and the walls. His friends cheered for the mess while he sputtered. He spent the first minutes of the new year smelling like a brewery. It was a sticky start. 8. A lonely teenager stood next to his crush at a house party. He worked up the courage to ask for a kiss. The countdown reached 3, and he leaned in close. He closed his eyes and puckered his lips expectantly. The girl turned away to hug her best friend suddenly. He kept leaning forward into the empty space. He felt fur against his face instead of skin. He opened his eyes and realized he was kissing her golden retriever. The dog licked his face enthusiastically. The whole room saw the awkward moment. He patted the dog and pretended that was his plan all along. 9. A superstitious grandmother insisted on the 12 grapes tradition. The goal is to eat 1 grape for each chime of the clock. The family gathered around the television with bowls of fruit. The bell started ringing way faster than they expected. An uncle tried to stuff the 7th grape in his mouth. He inhaled sharply and the fruit lodged in his throat. The celebration turned into full panic mode instantly. Another relative had to perform the Heimlich maneuver vigorously. The grape flew across the room and hit the television screen. Everyone was too terrified to wish each other a happy new year. 10. A mischievous cousin found the circuit breaker in the basement. He waited for the perfect moment to pull a prank. The party upstairs was loud and full of excitement. The television countdown reached 0, and people shouted Happy New Year. The cousin flipped the main switch and killed all the lights. The music stopped and the house went pitch black. Guests screamed because they thought it was the apocalypse. An older aunt shouted that Y2K was happening 25 years late. People scrambled for their phones in genuine terror. The prankster turned the lights back on, and nobody found it funny at all. 11. A massive nightclub was packed with sweaty bodies waiting for the bass drop. The bouncer stood by the VIP rope looking completely exhausted. The DJ faded the music for the big countdown moment. Everyone hugged as the Scottish anthem, Auld Lang Syne, began playing softly. 2 guys near the bar suddenly decided to settle a year-long grudge. A massive brawl erupted right in the middle of the sentimental song. The bouncer sighed and waded into the chaos to separate them. He spent the first seconds of the new year in a headlock. The peaceful song played ironically while bottles smashed on the floor. It was the least peaceful start to a year ever. 12. A tired party animal claimed he could outlast everyone at the bash. He drank way too much punch and fell asleep on the couch at 10. His friends stacked cups on him, but he did not move. The noise of the countdown finally stirred him from his deep slumber. He bolted upright with red eyes exactly when the clock struck 12. He screamed Happy New Year at the top of his lungs. Then he immediately collapsed back onto the cushions, snoring loudly. His friends stared in confused silence at the brief resurrection. He did not remember a single thing the next morning. It was a very efficient celebration. 13. An adventurous group of tourists decided to celebrate on the beach in Brazil. They wanted to follow the local tradition of jumping 7 waves for good luck. They ran toward the dark ocean, holding hands and laughing. The first wave was much bigger and stronger than they anticipated. The water wall slammed into them with the force of a truck. They were knocked flat and rolled violently in the foamy surf. They washed up on the sand, coughing and covered in slimy seaweed. Their nice white outfits were completely ruined by sand and salt. They started the new year wet and miserable. The ocean clearly did not care about their luck. 14. A wealthy family gathered in their high-ceiling living room for the occasion. The dad wanted to pop a vintage bottle of expensive champagne. He shook the bottle vigorously to make a big splash. The cork was stuck tight, so he applied extra pressure. It suddenly shot out like a bullet from a gun. The projectile ricocheted off the wall and hit the crystal chandelier. The expensive light fixture shattered into a million tiny glass pieces. Shards rained down on the guests like dangerous, sparkling confetti. The room went silent as the dad held the fizzing bottle. The repair bill was going to be the first expense of the year. 15. A famous local drag queen planned a spectacular entrance at the city square. The plan was to descend from a crane in a giant red high heel. The crowd cheered wildly as the shoe lowered slowly toward the stage. She waved to her fans while wearing 6-inch stilettos. The prop jerked suddenly when the crane operator hit the wrong button. She lost her balance and slipped right off the giant red shoe. She dangled by her dress strap for a moment before dropping into the crowd. Security guards had to catch her midair awkwardly. Her wig stayed in the shoe while she landed on the ground. 16. A rowdy college student wanted to become a legend on campus. He convinced his friends to hold him up for a midnight keg stand. The countdown was happening and the music was pumping loud. He was upside down drinking beer when his grip started to slip. His sweaty hands slid off the metal rim of the heavy keg. He fell backward with significant force and momentum. He crashed directly into the rented DJ booth behind him. The table collapsed and the music cut out at 1 second to midnight. The silent room stared at him lying in the wreckage. He ruined the drop for the entire party. 17. A hype man at a basement party felt the energy rising. He demanded that the crowd lift him up for a surf. His friends hoisted him into the air as the clock ticked down. He forgot that the basement ceiling was only 7 feet high. His face smashed immediately into the popcorn-textured drywall above. The impact stunned him, and the crowd stopped supporting his weight. He dropped like a sack of potatoes onto the concrete floor. He lay there groaning while balloons fell on top of him. He started the year with a mild concussion and a headache. The basement party legend ended in total failure. 18. A group of superstitious neighbors built a scarecrow to represent the bad year. They stuffed it with old newspapers and dry straw. They circled around the effigy in the backyard to burn it. One guy lit the match and threw it onto the pile triumphantly. The fire roared to life just as a strong wind gusted. The flames shifted direction instantly toward the people standing close. Half the circle screamed as the heat singed their eyebrows and bangs. They ran away smelling like burnt hair and smoke. The bad luck from the old year followed them right into the new one. The fire department had to be called. 19. A designated driver arrived at the downtown party just before midnight. The streets were packed with pedestrians waiting for the fireworks. He found the only open parking spot right in front of a bar. He tried to parallel park his sedan into the tight space. The pressure was immense as drunk people on the sidewalk started watching. He pulled forward and backward repeatedly, but could not fit. The crowd began cheering and clapping for every failed attempt. It took him 15 agonizing minutes to finally park the car. He missed the midnight countdown completely while sweating in the driver's seat. The applause he got was purely sarcastic. 20. An overly ambitious fitness group signed up for a midnight fun run. They gathered at the park wearing neon headbands and running shorts. The temperature was well below freezing, and the ground was slick. The starting gun fired exactly at the stroke of midnight. The eager runners sprinted forward to start their healthy resolution. The front row hit a patch of invisible black ice instantly. Dozens of runners slipped and piled up like bowling pins. It was a massive tangle of limbs and spandex on the cold pavement. The race was over before it even really began. Maybe next year they will just stay on the couch. 21. A shy couple at a crowded house party needed a moment of peace. They decided to hide in the guest bathroom until the chaos subsided. They chatted quietly and lost track of time completely. They heard muffled cheering but assumed it was just a song. They unlocked the door and stepped out at 12:07. The entire house was completely silent and dark. All the guests had left for an after-party at a bar. They stood in the empty hallway, confused and alone. The host had even locked the front door from the outside. They had to climb out the bathroom window to escape. 22. A drunk karaoke singer decided to make a grand romantic gesture. He stopped the music and called his girlfriend to the stage. He slurred a long speech about love and destiny. He got down on one knee and presented a ring box. The crowd hushed for the magical answer. She shook her head violently and whispered a firm no. He dropped the microphone, and it made a deafening feedback screech. They started arguing loudly over the sound system for everyone to hear. The bartender cut the power to save the audience from the cringe. It was the most awkward performance of the night. 23. A creative homeowner wanted to host a Times Square-style drop. He built a disco ball out of mirrors and heavy plywood. He hauled it up to his steep roof with a rope. His family gathered in the garden below to watch the spectacle. He lowered the ball as they counted down from 10. The rope snapped suddenly due to the weight of the ball. The heavy object crashed down and missed the garden entirely. It smashed straight through the neighbor's expensive glass skylight. The sound of breaking glass replaced the midnight cheers. The neighbor was not happy about the unexpected decoration in his living room. 24. A brave group of friends pledged to do a polar bear plunge. They stood, shivering on the icy dock in their swimsuits. The water below looked dark and terrifyingly cold. The leader shouted, "Go at midnight," but nobody moved an inch. They all chickened out at the very last second. The leader turned around to mock them for being cowards. He slipped on the frosty wood while laughing. He fell backward into the freezing lake with a giant splash. His friends pulled him out while he gasped for air. He was the only true polar bear that night. 25. A passionate choir of friends gathered to sing the traditional anthem. The piano player started the melody of Auld Lang Syne beautifully. The group began singing but quickly realized nobody knew the words. Half the group sang about old acquaintances being forgot. The other half argued that the lyrics were about something else entirely. They started shouting over each other to correct the verses. The argument got so heated they stopped watching the clock. The fireworks exploded outside while they yelled about Scottish dialect. They missed the entire midnight moment because of a lyric debate. It was a very discordant start to the year. 26. An amateur photographer wanted the perfect sparkly photo for social media. She handed out giant sparklers to everyone in the small apartment. They lit them all at once to pose for the camera. The smoke from the sparklers filled the room instantly. The sensitive smoke detector shrieked loudly right at midnight. The automatic sprinkler system in the hallway activated. The entire building had to evacuate onto the cold street. Fire trucks arrived with sirens blaring instead of party horns. The neighbors in their pajamas glared at the girl with the camera. She got her photo but lost her security deposit. 27. An athletic teen wanted to show off his gymnastic skills. He announced he would do a backflip at exactly midnight. His friends cleared a small space in the crowded living room. He stood on the arm of the sofa to get extra height, and he jumped up and tucked his knees for the rotation. He overshot the landing zone by a few crucial feet. He crashed directly onto the glass coffee table. The table shattered into thousands of sharp pieces. He lay in the ruins of the furniture unharmed but embarrassed. His parents were not impressed by his acrobatic skills. 28. Two distant cousins attended a massive family reunion party in the dark. The host turned off all the lights for the midnight countdown. The room was pitch black and very crowded. A young man turned to the person next to him for a kiss. The person kissed him back with equal enthusiasm. The lights flickered on 5 seconds later. He realized with horror that he was holding his first cousin. She screamed and pushed him away in total disgust. The family stared at them in awkward silence. They spent the rest of the party hiding in different rooms. 29. An excited party planner bought an industrial-sized confetti cannon. She aimed it directly at the center of the room. The timer hit 0 and she pulled the trigger hard. The cannon malfunctioned and exploded backward instead of forward. The entire canister of paper blasted into her face. She was buried instantly under a literal mountain of colorful paper. She disappeared completely from view for several seconds. Her friends had to dig her out like an avalanche victim. She emerged coughing up glitter and blue paper scraps. She was finding confetti in her hair for weeks afterward. 30. A southern gentleman insisted on eating black-eyed peas for luck. He held a brimming bowl of the beans as he toasted. He raised his glass high and cheered for prosperity. His elbow bumped a guest and the bowl tipped over. The warm beans poured down inside his crisp white shirt. The sticky sauce covered his chest and stomach. He looked like he had been in a food fight. He spent the midnight celebration trying to scoop beans out of his clothes. The luck he wanted clearly did not apply to his laundry. It was a messy start to a prosperous year. 31. A dance circle formed in the middle of the living room. The energy was high and everyone was cheering loudly. A young woman decided to win the twerk contest. She bent over and started shaking with incredible enthusiasm. She lost her balance and rotated too far to the left. Her hips slammed into the folding table full of snacks. The table collapsed instantly under the force of the move. Chips and dip flew everywhere across the dance floor. She landed in a pile of crushed pretzels. The music stopped as everyone stared at the food disaster. The dance contest had a very crunchy ending. 32. A funny guy thought it would be hilarious to dress as Baby New Year. He wore nothing but a sash and a giant adult diaper. He was the life of the party until midnight arrived. The group gathered for a massive celebratory group hug. The safety pin on his diaper popped open under the pressure. The diaper fell down to his ankles in the middle of the crowd. He was left standing there completely exposed to his friends. The room went silent except for a few gasps. He pulled the diaper up and ran for the bathroom. The joke backfired in the most revealing way possible. 33. A group of friends called a rideshare to get to a club. The driver picked them up at 11:45. He was already celebrating and was extremely chatty. He missed 3 turns because he was talking about his resolutions. The 10-minute ride turned into a confusing tour of the city. Midnight struck while they were stuck in a random alley. They watched the fireworks through the dirty car windows. The driver cheered and honked the horn happily. The passengers sat in the back seat fuming with anger. They arrived at the club just as it was closing. 34. A quirky woman bought a peppermint pig to smash for good luck. This is a Victorian tradition meant to bring fortune. She placed the hard candy pig in the velvet pouch. She raised the small metal hammer to strike it hard. Her aim was off because of the dim lighting. The hammer glanced off the candy and nailed her thumb. She screamed in pain right as the ball dropped. Her thumb swelled up instantly like a red balloon. She spent the first hour of the year icing her hand. The pig remained completely intact and mocking her. 35. A squad of influencers needed the perfect selfie for their followers. They posed in front of the television screen with the ball drop. They perfected their smiles and held up their drinks. The designated photographer tapped the capture button exactly at midnight. The flash on the phone was way too bright for the screen. It reflected off the glass TV and blinded the camera lens. The resulting photo was just a pure white glowing square. You could not see a single face or the ball drop. They missed the moment while trying to capture it. The photo was technically perfect for a ghost story. 36. The party was winding down, but one guy wanted a conga line. He grabbed the hips of the person in front of him. Soon the whole party was snaking through the narrow hallway. The leader kicked his legs high to the beat of the music. He did not see the family cat sleeping on the rug. He tripped over the pet and fell forward hard. The person behind him fell and the chain reaction began. The entire line collapsed like a row of human dominoes. The cat hissed and ran away unharmed. The pile of groaning guests struggled to untangle themselves. 37. A man stood on a chair to make a serious announcement. He declared loudly that he was quitting drinking forever. His friends clapped politely for his healthy decision. The countdown ended and someone handed him a bottle of champagne. He immediately yelled that he had to finish the year right. He shotgunned the entire bottle in 10 seconds flat. He wiped his mouth and said the resolution started tomorrow. Everyone rolled their eyes at his lack of willpower. He was passed out in a chair 10 minutes later. So much for a sober start. 38. A beach resort organized a massive midnight ball drop event. They released hundreds of giant inflatable beach balls into the crowd. A woman slipped on the wet deck while reaching for one. She fell flat on her back in the center of the pit. The crowd surged forward to grab the balls and did not see her. An inflatable stampede trampled over her for a full minute. She was buried under plastic spheres and running feet. Security eventually pulled her out, looking dazed and confused. She developed a permanent fear of beach balls. 39. A college house party had a hot tub on the back deck. It was packed with people and the water was murky. A prankster thought it needed some bubbles for the occasion. He dumped a full bottle of dish soap into the jets. The agitation created a massive mountain of thick foam instantly. The foam volcano overflowed and covered the entire wooden deck. People slipped and slid dangerously near the edge. The foam poured into the basement through the sliding doors. The landlord arrived the next morning to a soapy disaster. The cleanup took days. 40. A sophisticated foodie wanted to impress his guests with Sabrage. That is the art of opening champagne with a sword. He held the bottle steady and swiped the blade upward. The blade slipped on the condensation and missed the cork. He sliced the tip of his finger instead of the glass. Blood sprayed over the fancy hors d'oeuvres. The party stopped immediately as someone called an ambulance. He spent midnight in the emergency room getting stitches. The bottle remained unopened on the bloody counter. It was a sharp lesson in humility. 41. A sentimental group of old friends stood in a tight circle. They crossed their arms to sing the traditional Scottish song together. The moment was perfect, and tears were filling their eyes. One friend felt a tickle in his nose at the chorus. He tried to hold it back, but the urge was strong. He sneezed violently right as they swung their arms forward. The slime sprayed onto the hands of both people holding him. They let go in disgust, and the circle broke apart instantly. People slipped on the floor trying to get away from the germs. The beautiful song ended with screams and hand sanitizer. It was a viral start to the year. 42. A broke college student needed cash for the club entrance fee. He ran to the nearest ATM 5 minutes before midnight. He inserted his card and tapped in his PIN code hurriedly. The machine processed the request very slowly while he waited. The screen flashed a maintenance error exactly at midnight. The machine swallowed his card and shut down completely. He banged on the screen, but it was totally dead. He stood on the street corner with $0. His friends went into the club without him. He started the new year broke and locked out. It was a financial disaster. 43. A lonely young woman had too much wine before the countdown. She scrolled through her phone and found her ex-boyfriend's number. She convinced herself that he was definitely thinking about her too. She typed a long message with a heart emoji attached. She hit send exactly when the fireworks started exploding outside. The status changed to read almost instantly on her screen. Then the profile picture disappeared and the message turned red. He had blocked her immediately without saying a single word back. She stared at the phone in total regret. It was a brutal digital rejection to start the year. 44. An aspiring social media influencer wanted to host a live stream. She set up her expensive ring light next to the table. She arranged the punch bowl and glasses perfectly for the shot. The viewer count started rising as midnight approached fast. She jumped up and down with excitement when the clock struck. Her elbow hit the stand of the heavy ring light. The light toppled over and splashed into the red fruit. Punch! The electric sizzle was audible before the stream cut to black. Her followers only saw darkness and heard her screaming. The viral moment was a total blackout. 45. A group of bored teenagers found a weird challenge online. The internet said eating 12 raw onions brings good luck. They bought a sack of onions and peeled them eagerly. They started biting into the raw vegetables as the countdown began. The smell was overpowering and tears streamed down their faces. One boy threw up before he even finished the third onion. They were gagging and crying while the ball dropped on TV. Their breath was absolutely toxic for the rest of the night. Nobody wanted to kiss them at midnight. It was the stinkiest and worst idea ever. 46. A sophisticated city couple hosted a party on their high rooftop. The view of the skyline was absolutely breathtaking at night. They handed out lightweight plastic flutes to prevent broken glass. The guests filled the cups with expensive, sparkling champagne. A sudden gust of winter wind swept across the roof deck. The wind caught the light plastic cups like tiny sails. Everyone watched helplessly as their drinks flew over the railing. The champagne rained down on the pedestrians walking on the street below. The toast was ruined and the booze was gone. The wind drank all the alcohol that night. 47. An eccentric community organizer wanted to break a world record. He gathered hundreds of people in the town square hall. He handed out extremely loud plastic horns to every single person. The goal was to blow them all at once at midnight. The clock struck 12 and everyone blew with full lung power. The sound was not festive, but actually physically painful. The collective noise shattered a window pane near the front. People dropped the horns and covered their ears in agony. The ringing in their ears lasted for 3 full days. The record was broken, and so was their hearing. 48. A rowdy party animal left the bar feeling invincible. He saw a street sign and decided to climb it. He wanted to lead the countdown from a higher vantage point. He scrambled up the metal pole while his friends cheered. He reached the top and waved his arms triumphantly. The metal pole bent slowly under his heavy weight. He did not fall, but he lowered until he was upside down. He hung there like a sloth while the police arrived. The officers laughed before helping him down from the sign. He started the year with a fine for public vandalism. 49. A romantic young man lost his friends in the massive crowd. He stood alone as the final seconds ticked away. A beautiful stranger next to him grabbed his face suddenly. She kissed him passionately to celebrate the New Year moment. He was shocked but kissed her back with equal passion. He pulled away and jokingly asked her to marry him. She looked him in the eyes and actually said yes. The crowd around them erupted in cheers for the couple. A random bystander filmed the magic and it went viral. It was the only true win of the night. Well, there you have it. Absolute proof that staying home in your pajamas is safer than venturing out into the midnight chaos. From exploding garages to frozen tongues, these people started the year with immediate regret. If this video made you feel better about your own life choices, then smash that like button and subscribe right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss a disaster. Now tell us in the comments below, what is the single dumbest thing you have ever witnessed at a New Year's party? We want all the messy details. Thanks for watching, and good luck surviving the rest of the year.